life has this funny way of giving you what you want, even though you did not ask for it. And I realized I want a company where there's no VC control the board. I want a company in which I am the only board of directors. And that feels really good. Hi everyone. Have you ever wondered what your parallel universe would have been like in your career? So I've been doing a lot of that mental simulations in the last few years actually. And today I'm going to talk about some of those alternate universes. So by way of introduction, I am a founder with a YC-backed tech company that's doing in the single-digit millions of ARR. And recently, I've been thinking about what I wish things to be any different. The most probable alternate universe that I could experience is an engineering director if I were to stay at my previous job. So I was a software engineer, became a staff software engineer, then became an engineering manager and a quote unquote a mid-level engineering manager that was managing managers at the time I left. And I quit about 4 years ago. So if all goes well, I should have been either a engineering director. I think that's my highest level, honestly. That will have been my path. And so I try to think to myself, what I like that life or what I like my current life. Now, a typical engineering director or even a engineering manager too, their compensation is in the 700, 800K. Including all stocks and so on. It's mostly liquid, in fact, probably all liquid. And with the recent economies and layoffs, it might be 600K, call it better or worse. So the pro is that I think I have respect from the people around me. Second pro is I can connect with the people around me. But the con is I don't think I can live anywhere I want to. The con is I cannot take a 3-week vacation to do whatever I want. And the con is that I have this constant stress that I don't think I have an upside. I cannot see more upside going from there. And as a result, I'm not ready to almost go down this into a cliff and then go back up. So that is an alternate universe that's most relevant to me. I will be worried about promotions. I'll be worried about calibrations. I will be worried about complaining to the people around me, the oppression of the corporate system. And that's very true. But I'll be making a lot more money than I currently make, cash-wise. And so let's do a comparison. Do I want that life or do I want my current life, which is not even making very little cash compensation, but building equity in the company, of which could go to zero at any given time, of which there's a constant stress about how far this thing will go. So do I want to be a YC-backed startup founder that's not going up to the moon, or do I want to be a FANG engineering director or engineering manager? And I can unambiguously say that I want to be a startup founder that's not making that much money. Cash-wise. Why? I think it's just, I like my job. I like that it's so stressful, but it feels like I have so much agency on that thing. It feels like this thing belongs to me. It also feels like I can do changes I want. Am I banging my head against the wall at all times? Yes. But I feel like there's a door somewhere that I can open. Whereas being an engineering manager, I don't feel like there's a door. The ceiling is capped. But the nice thing about being an engineering manager is I can buy a lot of houses. I can easily get to call it $10 million of net worth in 5-10 years and so on. But now I basically have very little, liquidity compared to as a ratio of net worth. And that net worth can go down to zero at any given time. And even despite that, I like my current life. I was telling my parents that why did I sign up for this uncomfortable life, even though the other life is very good? And I don't even regret having this kind of grinding, stressful, uncomfortable life. It's because I really like that there is something to look forward to. And that is equivalent of that there is a vacation coming up, and that gives you this outlet, this optimism. The joy is not at arriving the destination. The joy is the perception that you're making progress towards the destination. So when the destination is being capped, I become naturally and very quickly unhappy. Let's talk about the other scenario, which is how will I compare my current situation versus a early employee at a super successful unicorn. So suppose I am the 8th employee at a company that, goes IPO. There are like two variations of it. One is say that company goes IPO at a $6 billion valuation. And then maybe another scenario of that company is OpenAI, right? Like, which is like, $800 billion valuation. The first example, a early employee, first 10 employees, by the time it goes IPO, I believe they get about 0.5% of the company. So at a $4 billion valuation, that is about, call it $20 million, 20 to 30 million, maybe 40 million. But with all the taxes and so on, it ends up with like $10 to $20 million. That's my opinion. I don't know if I'm wrong. I don't know if I'm right, but with all the dilution, I think that's what it comes up to. So do I want $20 million of net worth, basically financially free forever? One of the early employees gets the kind of the envy and the respect of all the peers around me, really enjoy my work, enjoy the company. Or do I want my life currently, which has low liquidity, and the company is still kind of like trying to make something going into that kind of a different category, into the tens of millions of ARR? And that is a good question. The pro of the first case is that it's like you are at the right place at the right time. And that is more relatable to a common person. That is also very finite. They probably don't want to do that all over again. They probably want to start angel invest and so on. But I think the con of that is I never got to experience something about immense control. And that made me realize I like control a lot better. I value control. I value this ability to change direction. And I think for a lot of people, they probably definitely enjoy the first one. They don't want the stress of the good days being really good and the bad days being really bad. I remember I was at a tech company that went IPO, and I was at the IPO party because I won this like employee of the fortnight thing, and all of the people that won the employee of the fortnight got invited to the IPO party. And the next day I was walking down the streets of Los Angeles. And I'm like, I went to this place called X-Lot in downtown LA. And I was like, dang, that's like multi-million dollars coming in. That's really cool. I was very, very happy at the time. That is definitely very cool. And that's also 2 million is like nothing compared to 20 million, just to be clear, right? But still, it's a huge step up against like everyone kind of around you, which is, this is the thing of comparison. But it feels like I haven't achieved the real stuff. Is like, this thing belongs to me. And why is that important? I have no idea, but I want that, like, this thing belongs to me. Maybe that's why I buy a lot of properties, because that belongs to me. And maybe that's why, I enjoy things like true ownership of something. So now if there's a second variation of that, which is, what if I have an early employee in OpenAI, and if that thing goes to IPO or in the secondaries, that's probably like 0.2, 0.4% of $800 billion company, which is, if a $4 billion is 20 million, 800 is 20 times 20, which is $400 million. That is more money than most CEOs will ever make. Most founders, like 99.99% of the founders, do not even make that much. So that early employee is way different. So then the question is like, is there an inflection point if enough money, a lot of money, can make me okay with loss of control? And I think the true answer is yes. I will take that scenario over my current scenario. Yeah, I think I will. I will take that scenario over my current scenario, because then I can take the money and I can do whatever I want. I don't need to raise money. I can use that to start a startup. Obviously those things, you cannot bank on them and so on and so forth. So take that same example. What if you're like that person at a company that hasn't been proven out? So like maybe like Cursor. If I own 0.4% of the company of Cursor, what will I feel? I will feel this number is going to go down. Like, I don't think this is a $800 billion company. Like, just like Cursor is not that either, but like, because in AI, there's so much hype, and so I cannot bank on that number. Whereas OpenAI is like pretty de facto, or Anthropic, that's pretty de facto. And then OpenAI, as you can see, is like literally the best of the best in that category. So like, 800 billion is like literally the max of the max of the max. So I went through 3 examples, 1, 2, and there are 2 variations. And the third example is, I trade my current life with another life in the parallel universe where we got to YC, we graduated, and this thing just went on a rocket ship. And we are like Series B at this point. So like the equivalent of say DoorDash or Stripe and so on. Well, I trade my current life with the life of a super fast growing company CEO that is on their Series B or Series C. That is maybe currently valued at $1 billion of valuation. But, I got diluted down all the way to, say 35% at this point. And that is what I actually think about a lot because I always wanted to be the fast growing company. But I end up thinking I actually don't want that. I like my current life better than that life. Why? Because that company doesn't belong to me anymore. You see, life has this funny way of giving you what you want, even though you did not ask for it. And I realized I want a company where there's no VC control the board. I want a company in which I am the only board of directors. And that feels really good. That feels, this is like the equivalent of Epic. And which when it gets to a sufficient level, basically a VC comes in and buy out all the existing investors and so on. So I actually like that. So that company, the pro is they're gonna appear on the news and so on. And that's not what I want. I realized that I could care less about that. In fact, I will much prefer a kind of a private life that I don't need that at all. The last one is, I trade my current life for a life that is the same situation, but we are doing, call it $10 to $20 million of ARR. And which one will I like better? And I can say I like $10 to $20 million ARR. The question then is, how much better is that? I think if you give me $50 million ARR, I don't have a board, I still control my company. I actually don't think I like that because I feel like it is too fast that I don't deserve it. There's a saying that when I was younger, I tried to look for fancy car. And I saw this BMW 7 Series that's on sale, that is someone trying to sell that. And a friend did say to me that hey, you're in the early 20s, BMW 7 doesn't match your status yet. Okay, that's you should maybe get a BMW 3. I did not get a BMW, but you see the point. And so I will say doing $50 million ARR 4 years after I quit my job, and that I don't have any VC on the board, that doesn't fit. That's a little bit too good to be true. So I think that gives me a little bit too much pressure. But 10 million is the perfect spot. 20 million is already growing a little bit too fast. So I trade that life versus my current life. Or even 8 million is really good. So what that means is that's very clear. I don't want to be a fastest growing company. It's too late to join, the future OpenAI. But our company could become a mini version of OpenAI, and I get to own a huge part of that company. And the only two scenarios that are better than me is it has higher ARR in the company, but not that much more, which is literally the next milestone that I'm going to hit. So in conclusion, the parallel universes with the dead ends, I kind of already eliminated. And the thing that I am looking for the most in terms of all my choices of parallel universes is the one that with the higher ARR. And that higher ARR is also not super high ARR. It's just a little bit higher, in which I'm growing into. So that is a good way to almost intellectually justify that the situation I have right now is a perfect situation. Because again, the arriving of the destination is not the most important part. It's the journey, the perception that you're making progress towards the destination. What is your parallel universe? Maybe you are currently working at a job and you want to become a founder, or that you are a founder that is maybe doing not so well on the company and you wish for a different parallel universe, or you are a founder that is amazingly successful and then you wish you have a little bit more control and a little bit less stress in your life. But it's useful to think about the parallel universes once in a while. And in my case, I am grateful for the current parallel universe that I am in. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.